Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove and I am back with my coaching reality series called From a Coach's Perspective. And I'll be completely honest with you, I had no plans to talk about today's topic until about a day ago. But because I've been receiving so many DMs on my Instagram, on my Facebook Messenger about this past weekend, how I competed in a bodybuilding competition. I haven't been on stage in 6 years, and I've been receiving a lot of DMs, a lot of people congratulating me, a lot of people, telling me I've inspired them to get back on stage themselves or maybe lose some weight or get back to the gym. And I've had other people ask me why I decided to come back and why I decided to get on stage after I said I was officially retired from competing. So I figured, rather than answer each DM individually, I'm just going to come on here and I'm going to explain why I came back to compete in, I don't even know how many bodybuilding shows I've done, but so many bodybuilding shows over the years. But why after 6 years, I decided to come back and do one more show at 40 years old. So first off, I want to just clear the air here because I had a lot of people ask me, did it really take me 2 weeks to prep for a show? Okay, because if you go on my Instagram or you go on Haley's Instagram, you'll see that we talked about how I prepared for the show for 2 weeks. That's not completely true. All right, so let me explain. The diet itself was 2 weeks. I though started to, in the back of my mind, think I want to train for something. I didn't know what it was going to be. I just wanted to do something. I felt like I needed to do something. And I chose to do a bodybuilding show, but in the back of my mind, I was like, I just want to lose a little bit of fat. That was my first goal. I wanted to get my body fat. Let's say it was at 14%. I wanted to bring it down to 10%. So I started doing that about a month ago. Okay. As I started to get leaner, I started to notice more definition in my midsection. And I'm like, I probably could get even leaner. And so I started to play with the diet. Nothing extreme, just little changes. Maybe take, say I was doing 300 grams of carbs a day. Now I was doing 250 grams of carbs a day. Okay. Maybe I was doing 45 minutes of cardio a day. Now I bumped that up to maybe 60 minutes of cardio a day. And I got leaner. And as I got leaner, I started to think I could do something here. And I wasn't too sure what that something was going to be, whether it was going to be getting ready for another bodybuilding show, maybe a photo shoot, whatever it could be for my business. But I knew I wanted to do something. And the reason I wanted to do something was because I felt, as someone who's involved in the fitness industry, I feel that in order to stay relevant and in order to remain marketable, you yourself have to stay in shape. You yourself have to practice what you preach. And I've always been someone who respects people who do as they say. Okay, so they live the lifestyle. So what I mean by that is I put up a post on my YouTube shorts last week about asking people if they had ever hired an overweight trainer. That wasn't to shame anyone who is an overweight trainer. That was just simply to say that would you hire someone who obviously doesn't practice what he or she preaches? Okay, living a healthy lifestyle. Being overweight is not healthy, period. It's not. Okay. So I wanted to show people that even at 40 years old, that I could still get back into shape. Okay. And the thing is, I've never really gotten out of shape, but I have had some obstacles to overcome over the past few years. I put up an Instagram post talking about back in 2020 how I had my appendix burst and I was told I was never going to be able to train my midsection again. Then in 2021, I had a grand mal seizure. My neurologist told me at the time that I'm never going to be able to lift anything heavy again. And then this past summer, when I had my inguinal hernia surgery, my surgeon, she told me, she's like, you're not going to be able to squat, bench press, or deadlift ever again. These are all compound lifts, and you've had a serious surgery down there. So it was kind of like I wanted to do something that made me think, you know what? I don't want to have limitations put on myself, on my body. I want to remain marketable, and I want to practice what I preach. So I got right back into the gym and started training for something. And that something turned into a competition. Okay, so I wanted to do this competition. I wasn't too focused on how I was going to place. In fact, I didn't even think I was going to place at my age. But I thought, you know what? I don't care about that. I just want to get into the best shape that I can possibly get into again and, get a few photos done and just show people that you can do. Okay. So when we talked about the 3 weeks, this was happening probably about back in February because I had already started doing cardio. My diet's clean year round. I don't do cheat days. I rarely do cheat meals. I pretty much stick to the meal plan year round. I was talking about on the Q&A earlier this week how I still use a food scale, whether I'm in the off season or contest prep, whatever. I always use a food scale. So I'm always within striking distance of something, right? And what I mean by something is something that's going to require me to be in tip-top shape. So my reason for coming back was for that. I wanted to remain marketable. I wanted to remain someone who was still reputable in the industry, and I wanted to show that I still practice this lifestyle. And let's just say I work with a lot of competitors. One of the things that a lot of people were shocked is that I didn't tell a single person that I was getting ready for a show except for Haley. She was the only one that knew. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to block out the noise. I didn't want people to go, "Why are you coming back at your age? Why do you want to do this? It's so dangerous. It's so, you have to dehydrate yourself. You have to eat very few calories. You're going to be grumpy. You're going to be irritable. You're going to have no energy." And then for me, it's like, you know what? If I can block out all the noise and just focus on what I need to do, it's perfect. And that's what I did. I got to work. So when it came to when I decided, I would say I probably decided about 3 weeks out with Haley. We decided that, okay, this was going to be my last show, and fully committed. I had her support. I just went all in. I was doing 90 minutes of cardio a day. That's the most cardio I've ever done for a show. Two 45-minute sessions. Now, my version of cardio is a speed walk on a treadmill. That's enough for me though, because when you're in a caloric deficit and when you already have quite a bit of lean muscle, which I do have, it's easier to burn calories. It is. All right. So because of that, I don't need to do running. I don't need to go on a step mill and do like 45-minute sprints or wind sprints or any of this stuff. I just need to focus on low intensity, long duration cardio. That's what I used to do, and it still worked to this day. And that's what I did. So I did two 45-minute sessions of cardio per day. My resistance training sessions didn't change at all. I kept my training program the exact same. And for the first time ever, my weights actually did not go down. Now, I attribute that to I didn't take my carbs too low until the last 2 or 3 days before the show. But for the most part, my carbs were about 150 grams per day, which is still pretty high, right? And my fats were probably about 50, 75 grams per day. And my protein was about 200, 220 grams per day. I don't have exact numbers, okay, but approximate numbers. So my carbs weren't so low that I couldn't lift. But what I did was I strategically implemented my carbohydrates around my workouts. So, for example, if I had a leg day, I would make sure that I had at least 30 to 50 grams of carbs pre-workout and then 30, 50 grams of carbs post-workout. So most of my carbs were around my workout because that's when I need those carbohydrates to replenish glycogen storages. For the remainder of the day, I pretty much lived on fats and protein. Okay, because I need carbs at that point. And that worked for me. My training schedule though changed a little bit. I started working out at 3:30 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning at my own gym, which was nice because again, I didn't have to train around anybody and I could just focus on what needed to get done, put on my headphones and zone out. Nobody's in the gym. It was perfect. All right. And that's what I needed. And no distractions, right? And so the training itself stayed the same. My weights didn't go up, but they didn't go down, which was always a good sign. And like I said, it's the first time ever in any show that I ever prepared for that my weights didn't go down. So I was pretty happy about that. As far as rest and recovery, I'll be honest, it was hard to sleep, especially when you're in a caloric deficit, especially those last 7 or 8 days before the show. Any competitor will tell you that it's your body fat levels are getting lower. It's you feel very uncomfortable. You are on a low calorie, so obviously your energy levels are low. And plus, I'm working a full-time job where I'm working 12 to 16 hours a day. I mean, it's not like I go to the gym, come back home and play Nintendo all day. And no, I have to work, right? I have to function. I have to deal with people. I have meetings. I have to deal with clients, right? Both online and in person. So I had to function throughout the day. So I couldn't go on like no carbs and I couldn't go on no fats. Okay. So I had to make sure that I was still being strategic with my diet and my training and my supplementation and my cardio, but I still had to run a business. All right. Because that is, let's face it, that's where I make my money. It's through my business. So I'm not going to put my business on hold to get ready for a competition. All right. So that's what I did. And that's when I did it. All right. As far as let's say the last 2 or 3 days before the show, everyone asks about peak week. What do you do for peak week? How do you get in shape for peak week? I keep things pretty simple. I don't really deplete my carbohydrates. I keep them pretty steady. They're pretty low for the most part. Maybe the last week I lowered them a little bit, but nothing crazy. I don't water deplete. The only thing I do with water, as far as, and this is something I've always done with water, is the last day. So on a Friday, I will start to just sip on water throughout the day. I have always been honest that I did take a diuretic. I just took one diuretic and I split it in half. Took one on Friday morning and then one on Friday night, just half a pill each time, and that was it. Didn't cramp up, felt okay, but I didn't eliminate water. So I was still drinking water, but just sipping on it from Friday morning until Saturday night, because competition was Saturday morning and Saturday night. Okay. So I didn't do anything crazy with my water. As far as sodium, I don't really salt my foods to begin with. So sodium I didn't touch. Oddly enough, though, the day of the show, I started to salt my foods because I noticed that I was looking a little bit flat on stage. I wasn't looking as vascular in the morning show. So I started to salt my food between the morning show and night show just to bring a little bit more vascularity. Okay. So sodium manipulation, water manipulation, I don't really believe in that. I think that's, if you try any of that voodoo stuff when you're getting ready for a bodybuilding show, you're asking for trouble. I've always believed that you should be in shape at least a week out, preferably 2 weeks out from a show. Okay. So this wasn't like a crash course. Oh my God, I had to do crazy amounts of cardio. I had to deplete my carbohydrates. No. Because like I said, I was already in fairly good shape. I was already doing 2 cardio sessions 6 weeks out. Just because I had in the back of my mind I was going to get ready for something. So when we talk about the 2 week prep, it's more about the 2 week diet prep, where the 2 week diet was like, okay, now we got to really dial it in. Now we got to really start to cut those carbohydrates down, but not eliminate them completely. All right. But the training didn't change. The cardio didn't change. I kept cruising on that. Day of the show, or actually, let's go to the day Thursday. So 2 days before the show, you shave. That's never fun, especially if you're a guy, because I'm not a super hairy guy, but I've always found that whenever I shave, I don't know, especially because I'm really white, I lose that definition in my muscles. And a lot of people say it brings out more definition, but I find for me, it actually makes me look more soft. So you start getting, you start playing mind games with yourself. And you think, "Oh, should I even get on stage? I look like crap. I look too soft. I look too small." And you start second guessing yourself. So anyone who's getting ready for a bodybuilding show, this is why it's always important to have a second set of eyes on you. Can tell you like, no, you look pretty good. Or yeah, you look like crap. All right. So it's good to have someone in your corner who's brutally honest with you and not a cheerleader, but someone who's going to tell you how you look and be completely honest and what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Lucky for me, I do have those people in my corner, and those people know who they are. And again, as I got closer, I was talking to some people in my inner circle who knew I was getting ready for the show, and I was bouncing ideas off them. So it does help to have that support system. And like I said, this is why it's so important if you are new to this to have a personal trainer or a coach in your corner. Okay. Someone with experience eye works even better. Because if you have your husband or your wife or your best friend who doesn't really know anything about bodybuilding or bikini or physique, whatever, and they're going to tell you, oh, yeah, you look great. You don't need to hear that. You need to know, okay, this is what you need to work on. Maybe you are flattening out. Maybe you are holding too much water. I think you should start depleting here, maybe upping this, maybe taking out the cardio, coming down your weights, so on. To go back to the weights too, a lot of people ask me this. Did I train right up to the day of the show? And actually, no, my last training session was on Tuesday. I didn't touch a weight until Sunday after the show. I like to really give my body a lot of rest before I get on stage. So I give it 3 full days of no weights. Still did my cardio on Wednesday, did my cardio on Thursday, and no cardio on Friday. Okay, because Friday I'm starting to deplete my water. All right. Not crazy amounts, but I'm still depleting it. So I'm not trying to go and do cardio. Okay. So that was one of the things I did. Friday morning, I was trying to make weigh-in, which was going to be at 1:30 in the afternoon on Friday afternoon. So I want to make middleweight because I believe that this point I'm a true middleweight. I'm over the years I've downsized, so I'm no longer a light heavyweight. So I figured, okay, well, let's try to make middleweight. Now, middleweight, the cutoff is, I believe, like 187 and a quarter. So Friday morning, I'm 190. I'm like, all right, so I've got 6 hours to drop 3 pounds. Now, when you're taking a diuretic and you're dropping your water, that's actually not that difficult to do. So lucky for me, I was able to go from 190 to, I think, made it to what, like 186.5. So I just made the middleweight by half a pound, which was a mistake. And I'll explain why in a second. But regardless, I made the middleweight and I was happy. I'm like, oh, great, I made my weight. Then I started to carb up. Okay, so I'm at the athletes meeting. It's around 2 p.m. Now I need to carb up. So I haven't had carbs all morning because I was trying to make my weight. Remember, carbs hold water. So I start carving up. My preferred source of carbs was white jasmine rice because that's what I eat all the time. So I didn't want to bring in any new foods. So instead of doing my regular half a cup of rice, I was doing 1 cup of rice every 2.5 hours from 2 p.m. Friday afternoon all the way up until I think 12 p.m. on Friday night. Okay, so every 2.5 hours, I was doing a cup of rice with like 4 ounces or 5 ounces of chicken, um, and a little bit of honey. Okay, just for a little bit of extra carbs, but not much fats. And that worked. That actually helped, and it helped bring me back to life a little bit. I felt really good right after I had my first carb meal. Like anyone will tell you, when they're in a carb depletion and you start having carbs again, you feel good. So you feel like Superman all of a sudden. So I started to feel better come Friday afternoon, leading into Friday evening. But then as my water got lower and lower, I started to feel like crap again, which is also very common. Okay, so we go to the morning of the show. Go in. Oh, I should mention too, on Friday afternoon, you go for your tans. A lot of people ask me, do you go to a salon to tan or a tanning booth, or do you get a spray on tan? No, no, no. If you're going to compete, every show or every professional show has tanners at these shows. And I strongly advise anyone who's going to compete, you pay to get your tan done by a professional. Okay. It's an airbrush tan. And if you're smart and you're super white like me, you'll do 3 applications. So that's what I did. I did 2 applications on Friday and then I did one on Saturday morning. So I'd be darker because those lights on stage are very, very bright, very light, and they're going to show your flaws. So if you're pale white, it's not going to look good. So the darker you are, the better. You want to really perfect your tan. Okay, this is important. So everybody I work with, whether it's bikini, physique, bodybuilder, men's classic physique, I always tell them, get the tan. It's worth it. Okay, you're making a huge mistake. There were some people at the show that I did that did not pay for the tan, did not look good on stage. Okay, you look like a ghost. You just kind of fade out because the lights show every flaw. So get the tan done. That is crucial. So I had my tan on Friday afternoon. Then I went back to the venue, did my tan or Saturday morning, and then okay, now it's 7:30 in the morning. Show starts at 10. What do? Continue to carb up. No water at that point. For me, no water. Okay. I hold water really easily. I know my body. So I know a lot of people say you should sip on water before the show. That works for some people, but I've been doing this long enough that I know for me, I don't operate well when I'm drinking water before I get to stage. So at that point, there's no more water. Just rice cakes, dry carbs, and some honey. That's all I have. Get on stage, compete, morning show. That's done. What did we do? Then Haley and I went back downtown, rested for a bit, had a nap, and then got ready for the night show. Night show comes around. Night show started, I believe, around 5:30. Lucky for the bodybuilders, we were on first, which means we get to leave first. We don't have to stay till like 2 in the morning. I feel so bad for a lot of those girls who have to stay there till like 11 or 12 at night. It's a long day. It really is because the women usually go on after the guys, right? That's how these shows usually work. So lucky for, or I should say at the amateur level anyway. I think at the professional level, sometimes the bodybuilders have to go on late at night. But at the amateur level, we get to go on first, which is nice because you're usually done by like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and you have the rest of your night. So do the show. For those that don't know, I placed first place in 5 categories, second place in 1 category, and I got the Mutant Award, which was really surprising to me. I was actually really happy about that because the Mutant Award represented, well, one of the promoters was telling me I was one of the most conditioned and freakiest competitors on stage. So that to me was nice to hear at my age, at 40, that I'm a little bit more conditioned and freaky than these guys who are half my age in their 20s, right? So maybe something for my ego, right? Don't get me wrong. The first place prizes, medals, they were great. And I mean, I walked out with 5 of them, which was great, and won second place, which I believe was well deserved because the person who beat me in second place, he won the overalls, and I give it to him. He had a great physique, so 100% hats off to him. And I told him that backstage. I said, "You look great. You deserve it. Well deserved win. Absolutely." Okay, so I was happy though. Coming back at 40, getting 5 first place awards and 1 second place award. I thought that was pretty good. And then again, I wasn't expecting any first place. I wasn't even expecting to get a call. But I was just happy. And, the photos are now coming out. If you haven't seen, you can go to my Instagram. I'm putting a few of the photos out slowly. And a lot of people are telling me now, especially people who've watched me over the years compete, they're saying this is one of your best looks yet. So, there's something to be said about that because Muscle maturity, and if you stay with it, this is something that I didn't stop training for 5 years. I just stopped competing. I haven't competed since 2019, so that's 6 years. But I still trained every day. I still ate like a bodybuilder. So it wasn't that difficult for me to get back into competition shape. It was probably a little bit more difficult to get back into the competition mindset, though, because that's a little bit different. Anyone who's competed will tell you you have to have tunnel vision and you have to go, I don't want to say to a dark place, but you have to go to a place where you block out all the noise. Because when you're carb depleted, you're tired, you're not sleeping, you're not recovering. Your body fat's low. It hurts to sit. It hurts to walk. Everything hurts. There's times where I'm laying on the couch. I'm like, I really have to pee. I'm like, I just don't have the energy. I wish I could just pee here. Honestly, you feel like crap. But then once you start getting carbs back in you, water back in you, everything comes back to life again. Okay, you feel good. So leads me to Saturday night. Walk out of there, 5 grab bags, big bags. If you look at my post, Haley and I put up a post on our Instagrams about all the bags we got, all these supplements. We've got like, I don't know, like 30 shaker cups here and all these great prizes and really good group prizes. The promoters, hats off again to the promoters. Dean and Leah Brandt, Extreme Promotions was a really well-run show, one of the best shows I've ever done. They really treated the athletes well, so I was really happy about that. I feel like everyone got their fair share on stage, fair time on stage. Judges really made people go through their quarter turns, comparisons, so everyone got looked fairly. Okay, a lot of these shows they just rush you through, and they didn't do that, so I think that's great. Um, Saturday night, get back. I'm tired. First thing I want to do is shower. I know people want to have cheat meals, they want to have donuts, they want to have pizza. I don't want any of that. I just want to shower. I want water, and I want one of my regular meals. And I think I can remember, I think I had like ground beef and white rice. That's what I had. That's what I watched. And that was it. Haley put all the stuff away, organized it all like the shaker cups, all the protein powders we wanted, all that stuff. And so that was all put away. I didn't have to worry about that. And then we went to bed. That was it. Sunday comes around. I'm right back in the gym training clients the next day. So I don't stop. I don't think I need to take a break now. It's like, no, no, this is what I do. Okay. And it just so happens my first clients who were scheduled for 6:30 Sunday morning canceled. So what do? Chest workout. Because I've made the mistake, especially on my first couple of shows, where I would take an extended period of time off because I felt I deserved it. But then I realized you don't deserve anything. You did this for yourself. You wanted to do this. Nobody put a gun to my head and said, get on stage. I wanted to do it. Okay. So for me, I love doing this. So I'm like, of course I'm going to go train. And now I've got some carbs in me. So I feel better. So now my sessions are better. And the pump is better, right? Anyone will tell you when they get off a contest prep diet and go back to regular eating, the pump is better. You feel stronger, right? You're drinking water again. So that all takes a place. And I'm like, yeah, I want to get back. I was hungry to get back to the gym because I hadn't trained since Tuesday, almost a week off. So got back, did a chest workout, and I had, I think four or five sessions after that with clients in-house. Then Haley and I went for brunch, low key afternoon, just took it easy, rested, and got ready for Monday, new week. Again, I think I did 12 sessions on the floor on Monday, online programs, did the Q&A, right back in, knocked out a back workout. And then, yeah, so I just got right back into routine because for me, I find that's the easiest way to get back into it. If you get back into your regular routine, all right, because the longer you take off the gym, the longer you take off the diet, the harder it becomes. Now, I've had a few people ask me, what am I eating now after the show? Well, I'm actually still eating the same foods I was eating pre-contest. So I'm doing the same pre-contest diet, but more. So instead of doing a third of a cup of oats, now I'm doing a cup of oats. Instead of doing half a cup of rice, I'm doing a full cup of rice. Instead of doing 1 scoop of protein powder per meal, now I'm doing 2 scoops of protein powder per meal. I'm taking advantage of what we call the post-anabolic window. My body's taking in all the nutrients right now. So I'm going to take in good quality food. I don't need junk food. So I'm not having burgers, I'm not having fries, I'm not having pizza. I'm still sticking to my foods, but I'm just eating more of it. Okay. I'm really listening to my body, but at the same time, I'm still staying disciplined because right now my insulin levels are very sensitive. And I know this, my blood sugar levels are very sensitive. I was in a very hot, extreme caloric deficit. I don't know because I don't count calories, but if I were to guess, I was probably operating on about towards the end there, about 1,500 calories a day. So that's quite extreme for the body. So because of that, I know I have to slowly start to bump up my calories again. All right. So I'm not just eating everything in sight because I don't want to just get fat. I don't want to hold a bunch of water. All right. So I'm doing this very controlled, very disciplined, and I'm treating my post-contest rebound just like I took my pre-contest rebound. That's so important. I tell so many people I work with for these shows, the diet is not over yet. You have to still stay disciplined. Some people listen to me, some people don't. The ones that don't, unfortunately for them, they usually start to hold a lot of water. They put on some fat, and it happens very quickly. And then within 3 to 4 weeks, it doesn't even look like they work out. All right. So I want to continue to look like I work out, so I don't let my discipline go when it comes to the diet or the training. All right. So that's pretty much what happened as far as the competition prep. I know a lot of people were, they weren't hurt, but they were like, why didn't you tell me you were preparing? I would have come watch you. And like I said, it wasn't a personal like attack at anyone. I didn't tell people. It's just that for me, it's easier to prepare for these shows now and not tell anyone. All right. So it just makes it so much easier. But yeah, so the reason I wanted to put out this on the coaching reality episode is because I've had a lot of DMs of people ask me like what I did, how long it took, how much cardio I did, and so I figured, okay, I'm just gonna come on here. I'm gonna put on the Q&A because like I said, I'm not gonna answer every single person that's messaged me on these questions. So this is what I did, and I kept it pretty simple. So my message to anyone who is considering competing or considering getting ready for a photo shoot, or hey, you know what, you're like, I just want to get in the gym. I had a client saying, this motivates me now. I can lose this weight. It's like I have a client, he's 45, and he said to me the other day, he's like, if you can get in shape at 40, or sorry, he's 30, he's 25. And he said to me, if you can get in shape like that at 40, I can do this at 25. I'm like, of course you can. Anyone can. You don't have to be a bodybuilder. You don't have to get on stage and compete, but you can lose that gut. If you're a guy and you're at 25% body fat, you can get down to 12% body fat. Okay. Don't put limitations on yourself. All right. So I'm glad that what I did inspired a lot of the older guys. And I'm glad it inspired a lot of the younger people too. That's great. That's my job to inspire people if I can. And that to me is, I know it sounds super cliche, but that to me is more satisfying than any of those first place medals I won. They really is. Okay. Because if I can inspire people to go to the gym, lift weights, eat clean, and live an active and healthy lifestyle, that's a win for me. All right. If I can get a few clients out of it as well, that's even a bigger win for me. Okay. So, like I said, a lot of this was done for my business, but a lot of it was done because I felt like there was something that I needed to complete and accomplish for myself. Anyway, that's it for this week's Coaching Reality episode. As a reminder, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, your training program, your supplement protocol, please feel free to email me at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me on my Instagram at fitcosgrove_. Thank you all for your support. I want to thank everyone for the congratulations, all the DMs I've received. I really do appreciate it. I know I don't get back to everyone, but just let you know, I really do appreciate it. And, I'm glad if I've inspired you to get to the gym, lift weights, you want to look better, feel better. That to me is a win. And like I said, I really do appreciate the feedback. If you like this video, please support the channel by subscribing. Subscribe to my Instagram, follow me. I really do appreciate all the support and feedback that I receive from each and every single one of you. Anyway, that's it for this week's Coaching Reality, and I will see you all next week. Bye for now.